So, hi everybody. My name's Dave Thompson, and today I have the very amazing pleasure of being with inspirational book writer, #1 bestseller in about 7 categories, Salena Kulkarni. Welcome, Salena.
Thank you, Dave. Great to be here.
Guys, on the weekend, Salena launched her book, The Freedom Warrior: How to Live a Bigger Life Through Alternative Property Investment Strategies, and #1 in 7 categories, ahead of The Barefoot Investor, Scotty Pape's famous book. Knocked him off. Scotty Pape, take a seat. Salena Kulkarni's taking the floor. Salena, I thought we'd just have a chat today about your experience of writing the book, maybe some lessons that you took out of it, and really just want to get inside your head about what your experience was as you went through.
Sure.
So can we start at the beginning, like before it was even a book? Like, how long had you had the idea to write a book?
I'd probably been doing some education in the business world about a decade ago, where people like Dale Beaumont and others were all advocating that writing a book was the single most effective way for building credibility in a particular niche. And for some reason, the task of writing a book just seemed too daunting. And I've probably done 10 times as much work trying to avoid writing a book and, doing all the Band-Aid approaches to creating, good quality content. But it's really only probably the last 12 months that I thought, I really have to do something about this. So yes,
wow.
it's been a seed of an idea for about a decade, and then probably action only for the last year or so. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So how did you? I just want to drill down into that for a second. You said you spent a lot of energy avoiding writing the book.
Yes.
What did that look like? Was that just like busying yourself with other things, or?
I kept thinking if I took shortcuts and wrote, like, for example, a really great white paper or a great report or did some great videos, that would kind of build the sort of credibility that I needed. And I got lots of great feedback about the stuff that I put out, but I recognize now that what those other pieces of content did was give people a snapshot insight into who I was and what I believed in, but it didn't give people enough to kind of give them a full picture. Okay. So in some regards, the book was, how do I find people who resonate with my message and give them the whole picture of who I am, rather than a snippet.
Awesome. And just for the people watching, could you just give a little explanation of the type of work you do and the type of people you work with, just so people know, Salena's coming from this space?
Yeah, so I like to say I'm a reformed accountant who went into the property investment advisory space and predominantly just strategy, helping people create wealth through property. And majority of people I work with have been business owners who are looking to fast track their results. And the Freedom Warrior is really about articulating my philosophy around blending the best of strategy that's available in the Australian market with strategies that sort of accelerate results in the US market. So that's kind of the crux of where I am.
Awesome. And you said the book was a big credibility piece. What is it like? I mean, I've got an answer for this. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, now having gone through the journey, why is it that a book gives that credibility?
Funny thing, I think when you're in business, it's very easy to have a lot of disjointed philosophies about your particular space. And I think what a book forces you to do is, even though you think you've got some IP that hangs around your ideas, you can't be wishy-washy when you write a book. You have to be very clear. And so the undertaking of writing a book, in my opinion, forces you to be crystal clear about what your message is. Whereas I think with a lot of the other sorts of content that I've produced in the past, it was very easy to, because it is only that snippet, it is very easy to kind of be a bit more loose and broad. Whereas, writing a book, I think, you can't hide. What you say is what you think. So I think it forces you to crystallize your thoughts.
Awesome. I love that. You got to clarify, and I do say that to people sometimes, is it forces you to clarify your thinking.
Totally.
On a topic.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
So 10 years it had been a seed. About 12 months ago, it really started to become like now is the time. Can I ask, how did you know that it was time to move forward after so many years of playing with different ideas? How did you know it was time to go, it's time for my book?
Well, you and I had met probably 3 years ago now, and I had known of your book writing retreat. And obviously when we met, like your energy and your philosophy really resonated for me. And I always had it in my mind, if I ever write a book, I'd love to do it with Dave. But at the same time, I'd been part of a business program where I'd heard kind of conflicting opinions that, oh no, Salena, why would you do that? Like, just get up at 4 a.m. every day and write for 45 minutes. And I guess I know myself well enough to understand that that's not me. I just feel already quite stretched in terms of the hats that I wear, and it was never going to be something that I could do over, say, 6 to 12 months, where I put aside that time diligently and did it. So it was always in my mind, when I'm ready to write this, that I would do it in a concentrated way. And I guess, and this is really terrible, but I kind of felt like coming on your book writing retreat was like ripping off the Band-Aid. It was kind of like it was going to be a little bit of pain, but it was just going to be done. And so I was just, you know how when you have a Band-Aid you got to rip off, you got to sort of muster the mental, yes, got to do this. So that's the metaphor for, where I felt
that's
the
awesome.
writing retreat. Yeah.
That's awesome. And, I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there who are in that situation where they know they need to write the book for their business and for their business growth and for their credibility. And they've got the Band-Aid on themselves, and maybe they've got like a really hairy arm, so there's a lot of like hair stuck to it.
Yeah.
What would you say to them? Like, how did you make that decision to just go, here we go?
Look, obviously there's a cost benefit that you look at with these sorts of programs, but having been through the experience now, I feel that what could have been a very painful experience was made completely painless. The whole journey was mapped out from start to finish. Like, any uncertainty that I had was kind of just handled. And if you're someone who wants a premium outcome, not a let's just get it done, but you want a premium outcome, you want it to be smooth from start to finish, you want to be spoon-fed on how it all works, and you've really, apart from writing the book, my comment would be that it's an armchair experience. It was very clear, it was made clear to me, okay, Salena, this is the bit that you have to do, but the rest was just handled. And so from my point of view, from a cost-benefit point of view, it is worth every cent. In fact, I would pay more than I paid for the program, because I don't think you can overstate the importance of having someone who's been through it many, many times just kind of guide you through it, so that there were lots of aspects, like even things like getting your book loaded on Amazon, getting it laid out. Like, I don't even know. That was just like voodoo. It just happened. I didn't have to have any conversations with anyone. It just happened. I just knew that was getting taken care of. And so rather than ending up with a book, I've ended up with, a book that's noteworthy and a book that I feel is of a very high standard. So yeah, I feel really good about that. So if you're wanting to just write a book, then I think there's definitely a lot of programs out there that even I've looked at that, you know, maybe I would have paid significantly less for, but I didn't want just a book. I wanted, you know, if I was going to do this, and it's, you know, definitely my nature, I wanted a stellar outcome. And I wanted a book that I wouldn't be embarrassed about handing out. Yeah, I wanted to feel really good about it.
And I almost want to like run to my bookshelf and grab my copy of your.
I have it here.
You've got it here. Maybe you can show it to people. Look how snazzy it is.
So it is. It actually looks like a real book. So when this arrived in the post last week, I really did cartwheels. I just couldn't believe. And I said to my husband on the weekend, I almost feel there was kind of divine intervention in the writing of this book, because everything was right. The vibe of the, you know, the environment, the team, the food, everything was just right. And if I had to do it again, I'm not sure I could. Yeah, it was almost like right place, right time, right headspace. And so it just flowed. So, yeah, I feel really quite clear about that part as well.
Awesome. I was wondering if we could just go back for a second. You talked about some of the like uncertainties in the process, or some of the things like during the process that you were like, oh, I don't know about how to do this. And you said that they were just handled. I was wondering if you could maybe just talk a little about maybe one or two or three things that in the process, if you'd done it by yourself, it's like, oh, well, how do I do that? And how it was handled in the program.
Having now been through the whole experience, I think there's a lot of things that people might overlook and take for granted. But having been someone who's organised events before, I understand, I got a sense of the precision of everything, literally from the minute that I signed up to the program, you know, the communication, here's what to do next. When you book your flights, here's what's going to happen. I mean, just every little detail, like these people are going to pick you up. This is how you're going to get to the island. All the food that got prepared, how it got delivered, you know, the structure of each day, the rituals and rhythms that were created in order to create momentum in the writing process. The whole thing, like that part of it, just the program part of it, was so skillfully facilitated and orchestrated that that wasn't lost on me as someone who's organised events before. I can see that took considerable thought. It wasn't thrown together. It was, you know, I could see there was a lot of effort that went into those micro details. And then subsequent to leaving the retreat, I kind of had a sense, okay, well, this will happen in about a week and this will happen in about 8 days. But you know, basically you kind of, again, communicated very clearly, this is ready, all you need to do is X, and then we'll take it from there. And so I didn't have to understand that in the background there was things going on in terms of how the launch would happen on Amazon, the layout of the book. I mean, my only job was to write the book. And so what I don't think people recognise is there are so many little details, like things like, you know, the ISBN number. Like, I have no idea about it. I don't even know what it is.
Yep.
I just vaguely know now that you need one. Things like the order of things in the book, like where you put testimonials, how you get testimonials, where they fit in the process. In terms of, you know, how to get them included in the proof. Everything post finishing the book, there's a whole world around book launch. And quite frankly, that was the piece that intimidated me the most and that I was most anxious about. I was less anxious about the writing of the book and more anxious about the actual launch, because I didn't really understand. And when I first started the book, I knew there was this opportunity to position yourself and do things to achieve a certain status within Amazon. I had no idea how to do it, but I almost had said, well, I don't need that bit. Like, I'm just happy to get the book done. But I think with your gentle coaching and support, it was crystal clear to me that there wasn't actually that much that I needed to do. It was actually some strategic parts that needed to happen. And so I thought, well, I'll just do those bits the way that Dave told me to do them, and hopefully I get a result. But I almost had resigned myself to the idea that I might not get that result. So I think the outcome that we got on Friday night just blew me away. But I don't think it came from, like, I know this sounds funny, but there's almost like, it seems like there's a sweet spot of how much work you need to do to get a good result. Obviously you need a half decent book, but it's not that you have to put hours and hours in, which is what I've seen other people do, which is why I was quite fearful around that piece. I think it's really about doing the right things and whispering in the ears of the right people, those sorts of concepts. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if I've meandered away from the question. I can't even remember what the question was.
No, it's all good stuff. I love it. Awesome. What else would you like to share? What was the most? Yeah.
One thing I want to share, which is also an unexpected benefit of writing a book, is I feel like you do some things in your life which alter the course of your life. And there aren't too many of those things. Like, I mean, everything alters the course of your life, but big things like getting married and having children. And for some strange reason, I would put writing a book up alongside some of those big milestones. And that kind of confuses and surprises me, because it's almost like who you become to write a book is part of the journey as well. And so what I would share is that I'm really overwhelmed with the fact that I've written a book, but the journey and who I've become as a result of writing the book. Like, obviously it's still just me, but I feel different. I feel like it's brought clarity, purpose, vision to something that might have been overlooked before. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful for that element of it as well.
Awesome. And what are you excited about for the future? Like, you've got the book now. Moving forward, you've become, the next level of Salena.
I recognise that writing the book is one aspect of getting leverage and credibility. But I feel like this is now the start of a journey. So I have the opportunity right now to do some great things with this book, and the decisions I make around how to use that over the next year, I think will make or break the success of having gone through that experience. But, I'm fortunate enough to have a few very wise people in my life who will probably help me navigate that. I'm hoping that, I can call on you to help me navigate that a little bit. But, I feel like this is now the start of a new chapter of my evolution as a business person. And I can see, probably if I had to articulate what I think the future holds, is a lot of the friction points that I had previously have now been removed. So the book creates flow. And, I think you had shared some pearls of wisdom with me when I was, struggling a little bit, which is that, that metaphor of imagining that you're pushing heavy logs downstream, rather than
walking them on your shoulder.
Yeah. That's it. So I feel that the book has done that. It's kind of removed friction, and it was the experience as much as the book itself.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Salena. It was a pleasure having you in the program, and so fun working with you on Book Retreat. And what a great result. I love that. Scotty Pape, take a seat. Selena's coming through.
Yeah,
and Stephen Covey and Tim Ferriss and all those other guys too.
I know. Who knew? Yeah, blown away. Yeah, thank you, Dave, and thanks to your team who were A-class. Stellar.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much, Salena.
Pleasure.